Hello everyone, welcome back to the Untitled Marvel Project. I'm your host Tanner Dykster, joined as always by the big man himself, Tucker Hazel. We are here to talk about the mid-season mark of Hawkeye. We're talking about episodes 2 and 3 in comparison to the first two. We
Nope.
have...
3 and 4. They did two. They did 1 and 2 on the first day. It's the
Well,
first time
okay.
in MCU Disney Plus show history, and that has sort of shaken up our schedule of how we're releasing these. But every 2 episodes breaks it neatly into three discussions. So this is our
Yes,
mid-season review, even if it's not the mid of the season.
that's true. Tucker, we will be doing a series review at
Oh
in
yeah,
in a couple weeks when the series ends, and Abram Buner will be joining us on that. I'm going to continue peer pressuring him by saying that in every single video. We're also doing some Spider-Man rankings at the moment for UMP, and BLB is just putting out great stuff altogether. So if you're not
yeah.
subscribed, you should be. What are you doing with your
What the
life?
fuck?
And if you're not already, join the Discord. That link is in the description. But Tucker,
Oh yeah.
Hawkeye episodes 3 and 4 this time.
Yes.
We
Mm-hmm.
have praises. Maybe we have complaints.
Okay.
Maybe. And we have questions as well, where the last 2 episodes of this series are going to go. But Tucker, I want your thoughts on the middle of the Hawkeye series.
Episodes 3 and 4 of Disney Plus's Hawkeye, I think, are really what I was missing from episodes 1 and 2. Episode 1 and 2, I was like, I can see where I might be liking this. And I enjoyed a couple elements of it, but in retrospect, the start off for Clint and Kate's relationship was a little bit jarring, and things just kind of got rolling really quickly in a way that I maybe felt that they could have had more time to breathe. But now that Clint and Kate have their relationship established, they've got lucky, they've got the apartment, they're working through little side missions to sort of come to the grand mystery in the middle. I really think it's starting to work a lot more, and I'm very excited to see how they wrap up the frankly kind of crazy amount of plot threads that this
Yes,
series is starting.
I agree. Episode 3 and 4 for me have some of my well, I think will have some of my favorite moments of the season, and will
Mm-hmm.
continue to have some of my favorite moments of the season. I
Sure.
think that in comparison to episode 1 and 2, like you said, this really is where the show is hitting its stride. We're in the
Yeah.
second act of this story. Things are all coming together. We had a second act break at the end of episode 4, which will our heroes will come back together at the end, I'm sure. But
Sure.
I'm just going to talk about the moments that I loved in this, and
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
we can just run down the list. We can do that action sequence that opens up in episode 3 and lasts for like
God.
a good half of the episode
Yeah.
probably.
It's a long ass action sequence, but it's one of my time will tell if it's one of my favorite MCU action sequences, but it's the best Hawkeye action sequence we've
Absolutely.
ever gotten.
Yeah.
I mean, Hawkeye's action is usually relegated to 1 or 2 shots per giant battle. Yeah, just a close up of him pulling a bow back.
Yeah.
But in the action sequence in episode 3, which takes us through 3 or 4 different stages of Hawkeye and using his skills
Hmm.
of hand-to-hand combat, traversal, archery, and like skill, problem-solving creativity with his
Hmm.
bow, it really gives both him and Kate a time to shine. And also, they're constantly having banter and stuff. So yeah, that is probably the highlight of the entire show so far.
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
And fucking ending it with the Pym arrow.
yes,
Holy shit!
the
Ending
big
it with the
arrow
Pym
was
arrow.
fantastic. Just the rack focus to like you see Pym written on the thing. You're like, what? And then the arrow turns big and it blows
Yeah.
up the pickup
I
that the
mean,
villains are riding in.
I was just sitting there kind of thinking after the fact. It was very cool moment, still a great moment. But when did Clint get Pym arrows? He doesn't know Hank Pym, and him and
Well,
Scott aren't
Scott,
really connected. And
remember when
Scott
Scott wrote on
definitely
his
did not
arrow?
have. That's true.
Yeah,
Yes,
they're
they
friends,
didn't know each
but
other at that point. But they also uh, Scott didn't have extra Pym particles. Like that was a big part of Endgame. So
yeah,
where these Pym particles come from? Fucking Hank Pym just pushing them out and
yeah.
selling them on the fucking black market. I don't know
Why
what he's
not?
up to.
You know, Hawkeye probably stole him. He probably slipped that
Well,
out of
also he was blipped. So
no.
yeah,
Who's to say?
that's a plot hole. It's a plot hole.
That's fair. That's a fair point. Tucker, we talked about the action. Let's talk about the action, then get to a bit of the more dramatic stuff because
Okay.
episode 4 also has some action sequences. A
Mhm.
big one at the end, which I didn't think was that good, if I'm being honest with you. I
No.
think the setup for it, that's more of the Clint and Kate sort of bickering as she like figures out a simplified way to get into the building. She helps the
Yes.
old guy with his groceries and then
Yes.
pretends to be talking to herself in the elevator. But as that fight sequence went on, I'm just like, Yelena Belova shows up. Florence
Yes.
Pugh shows up. Surprise, surprise. And like she felt weirdly like a non-threat in that fight scene because she was hitting
Mm.
people with this like red electricity stuff, and they just pulled it off. Excuse
Yeah.
me, what's
It's
going
very
on here?
strange.
And she also, first of all, Maya just like leaves in the middle of that action
Yeah, I
sequence.
can't remember why that is.
She's just like, this is too much for me. I'm out of here. And then Florence Pugh, she like looks at both of them. She was handling Kate and Clint very well on her own, and she's like,
Hmm.
actually, no, it's time for me to leave. And she goes.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to rewatch that because people are really praising that action sequence, and I thought it was fine. I mean, some of the earlier episode action sequences were not really well edited, and they didn't have a great sense of like weight to them. I
Hmm.
do think that this had some good hand-to-hand combat choreography, but also I'm not a big hand-to-hand choreography fan.
Sure.
I like people just coom over Winter Soldier choreography, and I'm like, yeah, they punch.
They
but
punch.
but whatever. But yeah, I'll have to rewatch it just to sort of see the progression of that because I do remember Maya leaving. I also remember Elena leaving, but I don't remember why. Even though I
I don't
watched
know
the
if they
episode this
have a
morning.
reason. I don't know if they have a reason. They're just like, oh, the fight's too much. Time to get out of here.
Yeah.
It's also really weird pacing wise because Kate falls off the building and then climbs
Yes.
back up the building, and then
Well, she
before
walks
that
up the stairs.
she walked up the stairs.
Yeah.
Before that, Clint just has a moment where he's like staring down at her for like a good 15 seconds, and in the back of my mind, my mind is screaming at me like, "Oh, Yelena's gonna hit him in the back of the head or something." He's just standing there. What an idiot! And then
What's she
nothing.
up to? Unclear.
She's just standing there waiting for
Or
him to have that dramatic moment.
is she not? Is she fighting Maya at that point?
I think Maya already
There's a lot
left.
going on. There's a
Yeah,
lot going on in that action sequence, and it's also dark and kind of gray. So
yeah.
I like it. I don't think it's an offensive action sequence, but it certainly didn't blow me away. But I
No.
do think that the rest of the context around that in episode 4 and in episode 3, of course, I think episode 3 was a little bit stronger.
Hmm.
Is why I'm really starting to get invested in the show, which is that dramatic stuff and development of these characters and how they're relating to this mission, sort of messing up the projected path of their lives. I
Hmm.
think that Clint is really becoming a lot more personable and human and having a really interesting conflict in that he what was set up in episodes 1 and 2, but is now obviously being fleshed out a little more, that he uh, doesn't quite feel like he should be revered as a hero, and he doesn't want Kate to get hurt, but he recognizes her abilities, and like the two of them are starting to mesh quite a bit better.
Hmm.
And I'm really starting to enjoy that, and especially with the addition to the ensemble of Maya Lopez, Echo,
Yes.
who is probably she's going to be the highlight of this in terms of going forward, excluding Kate Bishop.
Hmm.
The two of them, I think, are going to spring out of this and be deservedly so fan favorites.
Yes, I totally agree. I also love that Echo Maya Lopez. She just gets that like 6-ish minutes at the beginning of episode 3 as
Yeah.
an introduction, and it's
Yes.
just an incredibly compelling, super interesting character introduction.
Yes.
Hang on a second.
100%.
Tucker, do you know off the top of your head the actress's name for
Alakwa
Echo?
Cox.
Thank you. She is
Yep.
great.
Yes.
I love her whole physicality. I love that she is an amputee actress and they don't really draw attention to it at all. It's just an aspect of her
I don't know if
character.
Alakwa Cox is.
Well, she is.
She
I
actually.
heard
I know
heard
that she's deaf,
yes.
but
She's
I
actually
don't know
deaf.
if she doesn't have a foot or whatever.
I
it is.
heard that on another sort of Hawkeye recap sort of
Okay,
thing.
okay.
So
Then that's probably true.
yes. Oh, okay. You were talking about, the sort of dynamic that we're building between Clint and Kate. And
Yes.
that's what I want to talk about with the rest of this, because I think episode 3 and 4 have a lot of great moments between them that,
Mhm.
episode 1 and 2 had good moments, but I think these ones are great.
Yes.
I'm particularly talking about the scene where in episode 3, they get back from that action sequence, Clint's hearing aid is broken, and they have Kate has to like transcribe the call between Clint and Nathaniel, his son.
Yeah. Mhm.
It is maybe one of the most emotionally resonant things I've ever seen in a Marvel movie or TV show, and it's
Mhm.
so simple, and I think that's what makes it so moving.
Yeah.
Is that like they bicker, they fight, they disagree or whatever, but like then they have this like moment where they literally do need each other.
Hmm.
Kate realizes what Clint is going through, having these issues, trying to become a family man, but being drugged back into this. As previously in the show, she was like, "What are you doing? You got to do all this superhero stuff. You're Hawkeye. Come on, we can do this together. I'm like your sidekick or whatever." And then in that moment, she's like, "Oh no, I see what he's trying to do here."
Yeah. See
And I
why
think it
he's
is a
conflicted.
it is a beautiful moment. I love that scene.
Both, I think, episodes 3 and 4 have the best moments between the two of them. I think that is the strongest one in the show so far. You're right, but I do think a close second is her showing up back at the apartment with Christmas goodies so that they can have a fucking
Yes, that's a great.
heyday in
Yeah, yeah,
episode
yeah.
4. And he teaches her how to do a fucking flick thing with a quarter
Yes,
that turns off the TV,
I
and
love it.
they're
I love.
watching movies and they're
Mhm.
listening to music and they're pouring fucking daiquiris and stuff. It's
Yeah, yeah.
great.
I love they getting slurched together. I love that Clint is talking about his sort of like his war stories as Hawkeye or whatever.
Yeah.
I really wanted to hear what his best shot he ever took was, but unfortunately we didn't get to hear that. But I also love that. Yeah, he's
Well, we
doing the
know. We know what it is.
what's
Well,
that?
he does say the best shot he ever took was the one he didn't take, which was he didn't kill Natasha when he met her for the first
Oh,
time.
but I want to know like an actual cool thing that he did, like an arrow that he shot
Sure.
from really far
Yes,
away.
that would be a cool story to
Yeah.
hear,
Yes.
but I think that having it be in a more emotionally resonant moment that connects him with his personality and character story a little better is probably more important for the
Yeah,
progression of
well,
this 6 episode show.
fair, but I want to hear Clint Barton talk about cool stuff that he did.
Sure,
I
yes.
don't disagree with you that's very important for his character. But
Frankly, though, I do think that we'll end up getting a moment in episode 5 or 6 that
mhm.
is like him doing one of the craziest shots he's ever
Oh
taken.
yeah.
Because I do frankly see this as his goodbye. I
Hmm.
think that after this, he is going to be out of the game and maybe he'll be cameos and other things, but he's just going to be living his life on a fucking farm with his family.
Yeah.
So I do think that having like a great final moment for him, which is like whatever craziest shot he's ever taken in one of these last episodes, I can kind of smell that
Oh, I
coming.
see. Okay. I was just gonna say quickly. I do love that we're seeing Clint Barton's sort of skills without a bow. That he's
Mhm.
just like a great marksman all around.
Yeah.
I do really enjoy that.
And
Tucker.
he's great at breaking and entering, and
Yes.
he's great at hand-to-hand combat. And I do think like really giving him a chance to shine and also showing Kate's competency as well. I think it's a great way to set up their dynamic as him teaching her how to do things, but she's fucking Kate Bishop and she doesn't want to listen. She wants to do things her own way.
Hmm.
And that thing you're talking about earlier of her not listening to him and going up the elevator with the old man, that's such a Kate Bishop thing to do, is
Yes.
like be personable and find a sort of outwardly funny way to
Hmm.
get something done that doesn't involve all sorts of trickery.
Hmm.
And that dynamic between the two of them, I absolutely love. And seeing it come to fruition on screen, I'm like, yes, finally, thank you
Hmm.
so much.
Tucker, I think it's time that we talk about the plot of these episodes as well as the overarching plot of the series and probably my least favorite aspect of the show as a whole, which is Jack and Kate's mother. What's her name?
Eleanor.
Eleanor. Thank you. Um, Vera Farmiga and whoever plays Jack. They're fine. I don't think they can really hold a candle to the other presences in this
Yeah.
series. Um, and whenever we're like just sitting in their big ass apartment with them and they're being sort of mysterious and how they're talking about stuff, I'm like, just, I know that this is important to like building the mystery, but also
Mhm.
I know that they're being suspicious. Either one or both of them is the secret villain. So
Yeah.
let's just get this train a rolling here.
That's definitely true. I do think that they got a little more. I enjoyed them a little more in episode 4 when they have that moment of them like genuinely kissing and dancing and like
Hmm.
their relationship does, I think, feel believable between the two of them. And I do think that Eleanor's relationship with Kate is pretty believable in that she knows that Kate is headstrong, but still wants to protect her as her mother and stuff. But you're right, is there's just that lingering. We fucking know something's going on. Just come on, guys.
Yes.
Just like give us something because they're really teasing us with that, and it's leaving me to wonder. this is probably not going to be a problem at the end of the day, but
Mhm.
how all of this is going to play out, because as
Yeah.
we talked about in episode 1 and 2 review, they're setting a lot of antagonists in this show,
Yes.
more than I think are necessary.
Hmm.
And I don't have the highest confidence that all the plot lines are really going to play out.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, we'll
and
probably get a
other
season. We'll probably get a season 2 with Kate Bishop.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's true. So there could be things that are setups that aren't paid off
Hmm.
now. But there's a lot of fucking characters here.
Yeah.
And there's also like multiple mystery characters that we've yet to meet.
Yes.
Which is even more worrisome for closing out plot lines properly. The presumed kingpin
Yes.
of Maya's uncle is still yet to be introduced. And also there's still the mystery character of whoever that watch belongs to.
Yeah, I
Um,
was gonna talk. I was going to ask you in the sort of question section. What's the deal with the watch? Whose
what's the
watch is it?
fucking
What's
deal with the
going on?
watch? I don't know, man.
You don't know? You don't have any
Well,
guesses
the
or
first guess
theories?
is, oh, this is a Tony Stark watch. It does something with fucking Avengers compound. It opens a
Yeah.
fucking safe, whatever. It doesn't matter. Uh, but Clint says that if the identity of whoever owns the watch gets out,
Yes.
they will be in
That's the
trouble,
thing.
meaning
That's
that
the
they're
thing.
still alive, meaning that there's not many characters who have died in the MCU.
There's
And so
sti-
it's definitely not Natasha Romanoff, and it's definitely not Tony Stark.
it's someone who's been out of the game for a long time, and if their
Yeah.
identity gets out, it would get them in trouble.
Yeah.
Which a common MCU complaint
It's
is
got to
that
be a new person then, right?
yeah, a common MCU complaint is that not a lot of these people have secret identities.
True. Yes.
So I'm leaning towards new character because it's certainly not Peter Parker. It's certainly
Yes.
not. Is Scott Lang even secretly Ant-Man? Yes,
I
he
don't
is.
think anyone gives a piss.
That's fair, but I don't think I don't think it's Scott Lang, and like
I don't think he would care if he had a secret identity.
that's true. But like those are like the only secret identities I can think of off the top of my head. And if it's a
Yeah.
new character, I'm all for that. Absolutely, introduce new
Sure.
characters.
As long I think as it ends up being satisfying, it could be his brother. Hawkeye does have a brother in the comics, though he's not like a superhero character. That could be a thing. And we still have yet to see what really happens between. I don't know. There's so much shit happening here. That the show is tracking in a great way. Episodes 3 and 4 are better than episodes 1 and 2. The dynamic is working a lot more. I'm more interested in the overall plot of the story, but I still have my worries that we have to deal with Maya, Yelena, Kingpin, Eleanor, Jack Duquesne, and technically Akazi, though I mean,
Yeah.
and the rest of the fucking tracksuit mafia. Like there's just so much crap going on in the background
Mhm.
that things are gonna play out however they are. But I'm very happy with how the show is tracking so far, and if this continues, episodes 5 and 6 will also be great. So that's really all we need to know.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on board. I think if I had to pick a favorite, episode 3 is my favorite by far. But
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see where episode 5 and 6 go. I'm not super excited for them to have to like do the classic like after the act 2 break sort of make up and like, oh, I see where you're coming from, da 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 da, let's get back together and team up for the last episode or whatever.
Mhm.
I think episode 5 might be a sort of slow start into the finale, but
Sure.
we'll see, and we'll be there to recap it all and give you our thoughts on those last 2 episodes, the entire series as a whole, and any other future Marvel projects. Because this is the Untitled Marvel Project, and thank you for
This
watching.
is our Marvel project.
Tucker, when are we gonna make enough money off of BLB to get Botox, like real rich people?
Let's do the biannual check the Anchor account for how much money we've made.
Okay. I'm gonna do my biannual. How much does Botox cost? How
We currently
much?
have $10.78
Okay,
on Quest.
$10.78. Botox is only $300 to $500.